The Hollywood Reporter calls Disney's chairman and CEO Bob Iger the most powerful person in entertainment. Now in his first book, he's sharing the values he embraced while reinventing the Walt Disney Company. It's called The Ride of a Lifetime. And in it, Iger outlines 10 principles he says are necessary for true leadership. Since he became CEO in 2005, Disney has acquired Pixar, Marvel, Lucasfilm, and 21st Century Fox. Oh, and by the way, the first Disney resort opened in mainland China.
Under his watch.
It's a big one. And the subscription services ESPN Plus and Disney Plus were also unveiled. That is a lot. Bob Iger, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Disney Plus is coming soon, right? November 1st?
November 12th.
November 12th is going to be available. I got to ask, from the consumer point of view here, there are a lot of these subscription services now. In fact, Consumer Reports added them up, and if you have all the top ones, it actually costs more now than a regular cable bill. So as you enter that fray, is it getting to the point where for you guys to win, someone else is going to have to lose on that front?
Well, first of all, I think that there will be room for consumers to buy more than one subscription service. I think we'll see more of that, not only more than one, but two, three, we'll see. In our case, the Disney Plus service has Disney, Marvel, Pixar, Star Wars, and National Geographic. So we enter the market in a very, very unique position. Those brands, those stories, both the library and the original product that we're creating under those brand umbrellas. So while we believe we're competing with others, in reality, there's only one Disney with that collection of assets.
Diplomatically said, but the message is clear. You guys think you're going to be the one people go to.
Well, we're not short on confidence.
Listen, we all know, everybody in the room, when you walk in, we all know you're a bad mamma jamma, Bob Iger. But I think it's important to go back to where you started. And I think it's very interesting that you write, when you were coming up, you had no definition of success or leadership or wealth. You just knew based on your family environment, you talk about your dad, who suffered from depression, that you just didn't want to fail at what you were doing.
My father had manic depression, and because of that, he had a very hard time holding jobs, and I was well aware of that as a child growing up. But what I was most aware of is how disappointed he was in himself. He was well educated. He had big dreams for himself, particularly coming out of World War II. He was in the Navy in World War II, and he never fulfilled those dreams. So I watched him lead a life of disappointment, self-disappointment, and I just did not want to have the same experience.
And you were determined not to be that. And so let's jump ahead. Here's Bob, who's worked at Disney, who's worked in this company for over 40-something years, starting from
45 years.
Starting from low man at the totem pole to where you are now. But you tell a great story in the book that something happened with Roone Arledge, who I met once, and I thought he was a very scary dude. I was very intimidated by him. But something had gone wrong, and you had made a mistake. And when Roone says in the room, who did it, you spoke up, and you were 20-something at the time.
Yes, I was.
People just don't do that, Bob.
I was a lower level production program executive, and I had made a mistake. And in a room full of people where we were doing a postmortem on our weekend sports coverage, I owned up to that mistake. And I did so because it was the truth, and I just figured eventually, people would find out the truth. And there's that expression, the truth will set you free, and maybe I learned that early on. But it was extremely empowering to admit the mistake. People were so shocked that I was so honest. I think they forgot that I'd actually made a mistake.
Why was it empowering to admit the mistake?
Well, I lived to fight another day. I was never punished for it. In fact, I think they were so respectful of the fact that I admitted it was me that they kind of lost sight of the fact that I had erred.
You had a dream of being Walter Cronkite at one point.
I did. It's interesting being here.
Yes.
You did?
I did, yes. I grew up in 50s and 60s and watched Walter cover many, many monumental stories in my life. The space program, of course, and the Kennedy assassination, Vietnam War, and you may know that America looked up to him.
You actually tagged along with the CBS News team at one point.
I did. Out of this building, when I was in college, I was assigned to a CBS News team to learn a little bit more about the business. And I thought Walter was one of the most respected individuals in the country at the time, and I wanted to be him. And they never quite made it. I did not have the confidence to pursue that career path. I didn't think I was good enough.
Yeah. That's so interesting that you didn't have the confidence for that, but you have the confidence to do what you've done.
Well, I obviously over these years I've built up a lot of confidence, but I've believed in myself in this 45-year path many times, and it wasn't filled with much self-doubt. I'm lucky in that way.
You got to be optimistic because nobody wants to be ruled by somebody who's a pessimistic leader. Nobody wants that in their life. And that's something that you do.
Well, working for someone who's always telling you the sky is falling, or
Yes.
we're doing this, but it probably won't work, or
Yes.
oh my goodness, look what we're up against now. That just doesn't do anybody below that person any good. I think there has to be a sense of the possible, and always instilling that sense that either something can be overcome or can be achieved, even against long odds.
We're going to take a break, but we're going to ask Bob Iger to give us one more piece of advice when we come back. Can you stay for one more piece of advice? Yes, he can. We'll be right back.